Hello, fellow animation lovers. Rascal Entertainments here.
And Paws Entertainments.
Welcome to our all-new channel, Paws and Animation, where we discuss everything animated, from movies to beloved TV shows.
From memorable cartoons of the past to new exciting tunes of the future, and some live-action content will be featured too.
Join us on our new weekly podcast where me and my mom will discuss several animation pieces, such as favorite cartoons, favorite movies, what we love to binge watch, and what we can't stand to look at.
From two cartoon junkies to so many more, welcome to our channel.
This is Paws on Animation. Hello everyone, Rascal Entertainments here.
And Mama Entertainments. Welcome to our first ever podcast.
And the pod of Paws on Animation. Today we'll be covering every cartoon we watch, and boy do we watch a lot. Trust me, there's bound to be something you watch in this giant list.
Right.
And we watch mostly, there's Disney, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Netflix, DreamWorks. There's just so many out there now. It's not just bound to one channel. So we're just going to be naming off cartoons off our heads from ones I've watched years ago as a kid and watching live on Cartoon Network or other stations. And my mom has started watching cartoons with me that I've shown her through Netflix or through DVDs that I remember from the past.
And the cartoons I watched long before you were ever here.
Okay, so I think the first one that comes to mind is Samurai Jack.
Samurai Jack. I watched the original series, and it was awesome. I loved it. It was one of the best series Cartoon Network has ever had. And at one point, I did own the disc until they disappeared.
Yeah, I kind of wish we had it still, because I'm seeing online they'll have backgrounds or clips from episodes, and I remember only a few. Like there was one where he was turned into a chicken, and I was like, wait a minute, that was an episode? So I would like to have the series again to watch it, because recently they had brought it back for one more season to finish the story, even though the ending was just sad as heck. We still enjoy seeing it finally come to an end after being gone for 20 years.
Right.
And they had to age up Samurai Jack. It wasn't for kids anymore, because they knew by the time they brought it back, everyone was going to be an adult or a teen. So I guess Jack had to grow up with the audience.
Right. And it was so unlike what the initial series was about. And I think the thing from the first series that I remember that shocked me the most is learning that Phil Lamar was Samurai Jack. I was like, wow, Phil Lamar? Phil Lamar is doing Samurai Jack. And I think it's great that they brought him back for the reboot and didn't try to get someone else to replace him, because there was no one else could do the voice of Samurai Jack like Phil Lamar. And I do agree, yes, it would be great to own that series again, and then we could watch it together, and you can get to see what I really love so much about the original series. It was so different from anything that was on at that time. The animation was great, the character development, the stories that unfolded each episode, and they also had some guest stars back then too, like you do in the series that we watch now. But Cartoon Network was great in piloting and airing Samurai Jack, because again, it was unlike any show that was on, and they were pretty much groundbreakers in having this type of animation in America.
Yeah, true. And it inspires so many people to create other shows, because you can see the cartoons on this decade or just this year, and you can tell what they're referencing, like they have for Wander, because Craig McCracken worked with Gennady at a time when they had Dexter's Laboratory, and when Sylvia said, we just gotta get back, and then he said, gotta get back to the past, and you knew that was a reference to that. It was nothing but Samurai Jack. And it's definitely inspired a lot of people, where they make action cartoons references, or just to pay homage to that, even with the new season.
And I think also Aku was one of the strangest villains,
right?
That at that time that had ever premiered on TV. He wasn't like any other villain on any other show,
right?
And that's what made him iconic in terms of, how we have the best villains we like or the most awesome villains ever. And even though you did not like Aku,
right.
you
liked him as just an antagonist.
Right, and you were like, this is different. I haven't seen this before.
And the original actor, Mako, unfortunately passed away a long time ago, and you may know him as Uncle Iroh on Avatar. He was very convincing as Aku, and he would just have these funny lines. You knew that he was still the psychotic, angry devil thing like him. They're fighting ultimate evil, but still you can laugh at just how into it they are and being evil.
Yeah, Mako was wonderful. Not only as voiceover animation, he also did a lot of acting back when our Nana watched TV. And we also have to give props to Greg Baldwin. He's done a really good job in filling in for the voice roles that Mako did once he passed. Because he did great in Aku. We have to give him credit.
Right, because you couldn't even tell the difference. With Iroh, there was a slight difference, probably because he was new at it. But with Aku, it almost seemed flaws, like he never left.
Exactly. So, props Greg Baldwin. Great job.
Okay. Another show.
Now, you mentioned Gennady
Tartakovsky,
right? Tartakovsky.
Yeah, we know we watched Dexter's Lab, of course.
Powerpuff Girls.
And now that was Craig McCracken, but he did help on it. They seem to like to work together because they work on each other's shows. They reference each other's stuff. They've had a crossover in the comics where their shows meet. So clearly, they're still friends now.
Team. Yeah, they make a great team.
Even though they kind of don't talk about it like you would see now with these reality shows, like, I remember working. They make it clear they still are friends. They still work together by having references, homages. They work on each other's shows. They have crossovers in the comics. So you still know they still have a friendship.
Right. Now, since you're just going to talk about Gennady Tartakovsky, we must talk about Symbiotic Titan.
Oh, yeah. That one.
Oh, my gosh.
I think that was one of the shows that was ahead of its time, like Shaolin Shonen, because we were almost to the point, like with Thundercats, that aired alongside with it, and it was a reboot of the original Thundercats from, was it the 80s?
Absolutely.
And it was a serious take on it.
I'm sorry, I just could not get into Thundercats. Didn't like Thundercats. Sorry.
And I never watched original or remake Thundercats, but people were surprised that it got canceled so quickly, just like Symbiotic Titan. And that's when Cartoon Network still had action shows, because you can see now it's just a monster rampage of Teen Titans Go, which was once an action show.
Okay, we are not going to sully this broadcast with news and talk of Teen Titans Go until we talk about the greats.
Okay, well, you're going to get to it at some point.
Yes.
So we're just talking about how it's just an atrocity. Okay, with
so back to Symbiotic Titan.
Yeah, it was a great action show. It was just so in depth, action packed, anime inspired. It almost seemed like something that should be on Adult Swim, which it was at one point because they would show blood. There was a lot of action, a little bit of graphic action, the designs of the monsters and the storylines.
Right.
It did seem like something on Adult Swim, but it didn't go as far as an Adult Swim
and also
cartoon.
Some of the horror themes sometimes in the episodes.
It was definitely a darker one, but people loved it.
But the characters themselves, each one was distinct and well written, and you got a clear indication of what each character's personality was, and you couldn't confuse one for the other.
Right.
And then their personalities and their differences all will blend together when they would form the Symbiotic Titan.
Right.
And
you got the message of working together, which they had to address in the show. You got why it was called symbiotic. They had to be symbiotic, literally.
Right. And we were shocked when they didn't go with the theme of having the two main characters automatically ship.
And I think because it's become such a trend now, it's become a cliche. Not counting Starco because that's already written well enough. But
no, Starco.
Oh, gosh. But with this, I read on this TV tropes, and they said that kind of would have been the first show because you could see they're actually interested in other people on Earth and on the home planet. So you knew they actually had somebody they liked. You just didn't know if the one she was in was still alive enough because you didn't see him anymore after the flashback, so it was kind of a mystery. And
it was awesome how they even gave Newton Kimmy. That was awesome because
it's the nerd and the popular girls. Like, that never, ever, 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 ever happened. So let's go ahead and do this. And you got an explanation of why, because Because she thought she was just going to be the stereotype and say you don't have to be stupid just because society says so. And he saw there was more than just the mean girl stereotype.
And you saw his human side coming through, how he was developing and growing and having human emotions.
And he hated being called robot. He said, what do you mean robot? I'm not a robot. I don't know what I am, but I'm not that.
And you could see how he was beginning to think, how he was beginning to understand cause and effect in relation to human interaction and human emotions. And again, that was something that was just so great that had not been done yet on any cartoon we'd watch, where a robot or artificial intelligence actually was allowed to grow and become more human and it become part of the storyline. So I miss Symbiotic Titan. I really do.
And you like Lance and Alana. They had that one episode, where they fought, but it was just one. It didn't stretch out the whole series. And Alana, she was actually a pretty nice character.
Yes.
She they're almost like they're making fun of a Disney princess, but without being Disney in it. Just a space princess. She could fight, take care of herself. She was intelligent. She wasn't annoying or whining or anything. And Lance, who I always thought was like Keith on Voltron. I don't know why they're both emo.
Yes, before the great ultimate reboot of Legendary Defender. Yeah, you have to say he was the original Keith. Never thought about that.
Because they're both so and Pidgeworth is so emo. They're just so alike, and the way they dress, the way they act, they're so aloof.
So maybe Lance was inspiration for Keith.
Right, and I have to say that one because I know there's a Lance on there, and it's like, not that Lance, this Lance, the original Lance before this Lance.
And just in case, if you haven't watched it, Rascal made this awesome Mean Girls trailer. It is crazy. So if you have a chance, type it in, take a look at that trailer.
Okay. So Samurai Jack, Samurai Titan,
Gennady.
Okay, we're still on Gennady. We know he made Dexter's Laboratory way before Samurai Titan and Samurai Jack. There was Dexter's Laboratory.
Yes.
And Laboratory.
And for all of you who like fun facts, when they originally aired, Dexter would come on after Powerpuff Girls early in the morning. So it would be 8 o'clock Powerpuff Girls, 8:30 Dexter's Laboratory. And I would actually watch them before I went to work. I would get up, eat breakfast, get dressed, because I had to have my daily fix of Powerpuff Girls and Dexter's Laboratory. And it was a great lineup and a great pairing. And it made mornings easier before I would go out to work. I actually would be happy and in a great mood because I watched these shows and laughed my head off. So Dexter first.
Now, I remember watching Dexter when I was little. It wasn't taped like you had Powerpuff Girls, because you had just about every Powerpuff Girls at the time on tape. But Dexter I would watch if it came on, like when they used to have Boomerang as a cable channel. And recently just got the DVD and they got some episodes on demand, and I can still pick out favorites because they were just so creative with all the ideas and the tropes. Like the ones I really remember.
What's your favorite episode?
I think it would have to be what was supposed to be the final episode until Cartoon Network got greedy and they brought it back with none of the original people. It was the final episode of the series called Last But Not Beast, and it's when Dexter was part of a student exchange program to Japan, and he was in this little fight with two students, and they had these Voltron style robots, and I guess everybody in Japan has a robot, and he accidentally activates a volcano, releases a monster, and they had all the characters from this universe, like like his monkey that was a superhero, the Justice Friends,
Emperor Monkey,
and everybody, and they all had to fight the monster because it was too big for the government to handle. And then Dexter finally told his parents about the lab, and they became literally Voltron, and let's go Dexter family go, and they became a robot. They had to fight it off, and they had all the friends, everybody was in, and they had to save the day. And I think that was a great way to end the show. But he finally told him about the lab. He found out about Monkey, only his mind got erased at the last second. But it was just a grand finale of the show, and I would love for it just to end on that note until they brought it back, because they got greedy. Because the guy who created it, he left to work on Samurai Jack, but Cartoon Network still wanted money out of it. So instead of bringing him back or trying to explain something, they just got new writers, new voice actors, except for two, new directors. Everybody was just exchanged to keep it going, and then when it came back, it just stopped being fun. It was more mundane. It was supposed to be surreal, and the jokes just wasn't as funny.
Yeah. Well, you know my favorite episode, Omelette du Fromage, the silliness, the craziness, and still, decades later, we're still saying Omelette du Fromage. Omelette du Fromage.
It's all you ever
All
said.
you can say.
That's all she could say, ironically. It was like, could you shut up, please? And she's kicking stuff off the table. It's omelette du fromage. Everything, answered everything. It's like you're hearing Chewbacca, and you're like, oh yeah, I know what you're saying.
And I think now that we bring up Dee Dee, that part of what really made the show fun and work besides the antics was, even though Dee Dee and Dexter would have their little confrontations, she would know when she would go too far, and she would have empathy, and she would console him. And Dexter the same. He talked about her. He told her to get out of the laboratory.
Get out the laboratory!
He would argue and fight with her, but when Dee Dee needed him, Dexter was there. So they still had that wonderful sibling love amidst all of their confrontations. So it made it work.
Right. And the one I love was the best episode that addressed that was when aliens came and Dexter just gave her to them so she would never bother him again. And then like hours later, he's starting to feel guilty and he thinks they're gonna do things to her. And she's fine. She's just driving them nuts. But he feels so guilty and he can't work in the lab now because she's not constantly bothering him. And he's like, I'm coming for you, D. And he goes rescue her. The aliens didn't want her. He's like, take her back. Right. And when she was messing with all this stuff, he was like, and he was able to work again because she was driving him crazy. So that's the only way he could work, if she was there to mess with him.
I think the one that exemplified it too was when they had picture day, and Dee Dee made fun of him and called him these names and laughed at him, and then she saw how sad and he looked, and she was like, oh, Dexter, I was just kidding. This really bothers you. And he leaned his head over and she patted him there. It was one of the sweet moments where they took a break from torturing each other, and you knew Dee Dee really cared. And unfortunately for Dexter, he took the wrong way to becoming handsome for his photographs.
Right, and then he looked like just a melted wax figure. It's like, oh, like someone took a magnifying and just melted his face up. I was like, oh boy. Another favorite, I got like two more favorites. I mean, it just has so many great ones, but another one I really like was called Mach 5, where the entire episode was a parody, a satire, and an homage to Speed Racer. Yes. And they just got everything right. How the characters act, how they talk, where they always talk like this, and they never seem to take a break or take a breath. They just do all the lines of fun. Ah, ooh, ah! They just keep going, and they had Dee Dee play Racer X and Spritle, and you had the monkey, and Mandark was the rival of the week from the show, and it was just a really great parody.
Well done, just perfectly done.
Even the narrator, Tom Kenny, even he was into it when he had to explain for the 50th time that this is who Racer X is, this is Stevie Billy's sister, this is Stevie Billy's brother. They had to do that over and over because that's something they tell you in the show, like you're going to forget in a week's time.
Now, let's try. We've got a lot of favorites, so let's go to telling what our least favorites are. My least favorite, we just come out with what's my least favorite, since we just had Christmas, is when Dexter tortures Santa Claus.
Dexter versus Santa Claus.
Oh,
misspelled.
I hated that episode. It is the only episode I ever hated. And I think because it put Dexter in such a cruel light. Right. He wasn't cruel. He was, he had...
he must prove science is right.
And he had issues with, narcissism, and he was brilliant, and don't bother me, but... he always, again, had his air of underneath. There was caring, and he could be empathetic, but there was no empathy and no sympathy for Santa Claus. And what was more horrible is, if he thought that was his dad pretending to be Santa Claus, why would he torture his dad in that way?
Right. Like, he would have taken off the alphabet and I was like, okay, it's me. But all he could say was, ho, 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 ho. Or for some reason, the antlers couldn't come off the deer. He was flying in the sleigh. It's like, the car can't fly. That should be your cue. That's Santa. But no, we got to stretch it out to 11 minutes, so we just had to keep going with the Santa torture. And then at the end, their family was pissed at him, and I was like, isn't it about being family? He's like, you blockhead, that's not what it's about.
And he still had no remorse for what he'd done. So that truly is why That is the only episode of Dexter that I did not like.
Okay.
What about you? What's your least favorite?
Well, it's actually from the new series, the new seasons, I should say, and they had a lot of bad episodes, but I think the worst one is usually called Jeepers Creepers, Where is Peepers?
I forgot about that one.
And it was about Dee Dee's stupid little imaginary friend, Koozie, voiced by Dom DeLuise.
And in that universe, everybody hates Koozie on every show, including Powerpuff Girls. Nobody likes Koozie.
Right. And it was, I can't tell, it was supposed to be in their imagination, but then it found out it's a planet, so you can't even tell it's physical or not. They couldn't even keep track of their own continuity. Mm-hmm. And it was this little dog thing that apparently was in charge of her imagination, make sure she was happy. Mm-hmm. And he was taken by this really bizarre looking anime villain. I mean, they didn't even parody anime. I mean, his whole style was an anime
with serious issues.
And his whole design, he was anime. The only thing I could say give him credit for was that when they had his long Mojo Jojo monologue, they did all the angles like an anime, but he was just so stupid. He had this long blue Goku hair. He was all white. He had on almost no clothes. He had on gold boots, heels, or something.
There was nothing likable about this villain. There's no chance of him ever having become a Chase or a Lotor.
Oh, no. No, it was just he was so bizarre. And people were like, what the heck is this? Like, did someone watch anime recently and they just say, oh, I want to put it in the show? You can't put anime in your show. And there's so many people who have done that and on homages and had whole shows like Star vs. Force of Evil or KO where you know they love anime and this is when they put it in. But I don't want a whole character looks like you just dragged him off of there, put him here, and he's just irritatingly nonsensical.
But maybe that was their goal. Maybe their goal was to make the villain so unlikable, so horrible looking, so ridiculous that there'd be no chance you would like him. Maybe that was the ulterior motive.
Yeah,
we'll never know.
Yeah, and that's why they killed him off like the very end of the episode. The little dog turned into a dragon for some reason, and he squished him, and that was it.
So there was a bright spot to your least favorite episode.
I'm like, what the heck is this? I don't even know what the heck was going on that episode. It was just so stupidly weird. It wasn't even stupid funny. It was just, and Koozie wouldn't shut up. He was singing. Dexter was annoying. Nothing made sense. They even paused for 10 seconds for a joke because they couldn't come up with anything else. It's like, yeah, you can't mess with my equipment. And then you just hear silence for like 5 seconds. It's like, why did you pause? You have 11 minutes to do a story. Why did you need to pause there for an awkward joke?
Well, while we're on Dexter, before we move on to the next one, let's give credit to the voice actors, the two female voice actors who voiced Dexter.
Oh, Christine Canavan, who was the original. Unfortunately, she passed away in 2014. She's also the voice of Chucky Finster from Rugrats. She was Goslin on Darkwing Duck. And quite a few other voices, but she was best known as Dexter because she just played the role so well and emotions. I loved when she would get these really deep voices for him and go, Day-Day! It was just hilarious having her on there.
And let's give credit to her replacement, who's Candy Milo.
Yeah, Candy Milo. She was close, but not close enough.
But she did a great job in taking over and continuing to give us what we love so that the show wasn't canceled. Candy Milo did do a great job.
Right, when they had the subsequent series later, and they replaced her altogether. She wasn't gone yet. They just decided to replace her. She did sound close enough to Dexter, but there were unfortunately at points where I could tell, like, okay, this is a girl. At first, you didn't even know it was a girl. It sounded like a boy, like with Tara Strong and Ben 10. It sounded like a boy until you look at the end credits. You're like,
Tara
what?
Strong is a master.
Yeah, because she sounded like a 10-year-old boy, loves action, and I love her as Ben 10, and she would just have the best lines for Ben. I mean, she was just awesome at the voice.
So thank you, Candy Milo, for being able to see the last part of the original Dexter series. Without your having taken over, we would have never gotten to see it in and have Rascal's favorite episode air.
Right.
So let's go with another Gennady Tartakovsky favorite.
Oh, well, that's it. He's at Samurai Jack, Samurai Titan, and Dexter's Lab. I think he's probably working on something else by now. But that's about it. The 3 shows that we know and he's done, that's it. And besides working on Dexter's Lab with, Craig McCracken and stuff. Unless you want to talk about Craig McCracken next.
Powerpuff Girls!
Yes. Powerpuff Girls! And then Ruined Forever, reboot by Cartoon Network. Oh, gosh.
Powerpuff Girls! Hey, Powerpuff Girls!
Like, I know! That's another show. My mom taped just about all the episodes. It couldn't be the whole series because it didn't end till 2007, so it was just all the original episodes.
Right. I thought it would be nice to have for Rascal to watch when she got older, and I guess that's probably why she has such an affinity for Dexter and Powerpuff Girls, because again, I watched them so much, and then that DVD, I wish it were a DVD, the tape that I made, Stop Laughing, enabled her to watch an entire day that aired on Cartoon Network of nothing but Powerpuff Girls. Take a cue, Cartoon Network, do something like that instead of Teen Titans Go.
Please. Yeah, there were so many episodes of that, and I don't really have a favorite of that because there are just so many. But I know you like the one where Princess Morbucks became the mayor, and she made crime legal, and everybody was just going on the purge, robbing people, and just said, "Oh, here's the contract. We can do what we want," and they were just getting away with everything.
And my favorite scene where she wakes up and realizes all her stuff is gone, and she goes,
"My stuff! Where's my stuff? And then she goes right back over the, "Where's my stuff?" Like nothing happened. It's like, how the heck you doing? You just hit your head.
Yeah, she was in the original series. She was a little villainous, but she was a character that you liked. You loved to hate her. But in the new series, I just don't like her.
It's not even.
I don't like. I'm sorry, the voice actor is probably great, but the way that she conveys the character versus how it was originally done by the same person who did Miss Keene. I think
Kathy's. What's her last name?
Kathy
Sushi. Now, let's hear the thing. She's still on there, but she only does Miss Keene. They got someone completely different to do Morbugs, which is weird because you hear her do the Morbugs voice in different characters, so it doesn't make sense. Why'd you need a whole new person to do this character when she was right there doing a character, still able to do the voice all these years later, and it sounds like Limitless, and you just got someone else.
Right.
And they kind of have, for new Morbugs, where she just comes in, she has this rap, ultra cool hip-hop group. She's got like 2 rappers, a muscle girl, a white tiger,
and it just
Gold
doesn't work. It just so doesn't work.
Like, and it's just, all she does is drive them crazy. She's not even too much of a threat. It's just to annoy them for the day, and that's it, since they don't fight crime at this rate.
The original series was, again, ahead of its time. It was wonderful. There was nothing on television, on any network, for any stations that air cartoons like Powerpuff Girls. The intro was perfect. The outro was perfect. Every episode was pretty much well written, well done. It had humor. It had action and fighting, and it had lessons.
Right.
Oh, it had lessons. It wasn't just mindless.
Right.
Mindless episodes happening.
Even when it got to later seasons when it was about to go off and you saw the quality was starting to go down, they still managed to have some good episodes from the newest one. But I would have to say my least favorite episode from that was one called Substitute Creature. And it was about this weird looking guy. He was green and he white hair and looked like he was evil. And he was a new teacher. Like, clearly he looks evil, but turned out he wasn't. Big surprise. But the girls kept thinking he did something to Miss Keene. And every time they would imagine something was happening to her, they would switch to this really graphic anime style. And it was graphic as heck. And I don't mean graphic like graphic novel. I mean like, shouldn't be on a kid's show, and it was just like they keep thinking something bad's gonna happen to her, and they drew her all sexy, and
Rated
it's like
PG, pretty graphic.
Right? It's like, wait a minute, you're 5, right? You're 5 years old. How are you thinking everyone in this really sexy anime girl style and this graphic background? It's like, okay, this is stupid, and it just got to a point like this could be nightmare inducing.
I think what was happening there is maybe they were trying to appeal not only to a younger audience but also to an adult audience. But what they didn't understand is that adults such as myself who watched this show loved it just as it was. It didn't need to be made more adult friendly. It was adult friendly.
Right. With all the dirty jokes, yeah.
Exactly. The greatest thing about that show, there are 3. One is that it managed to appeal to all ages, all across the board. It appealed to everyone. It was very, very popular at the time it originally aired. There was merchandising everywhere. You would see it all over the internet.
And that wasn't even the plan for it at first.
Exactly. It just appealed to everyone. The way it was written, the characters were endearing. That's the second thing that made it really work. They were endearing. There was little 5-year-old girls in kindergarten, and they acted like kindergartens. They acted like little girls, but when it was time for the day to be saved, you could count on them to do what needed to be done. And they had their father, the professor, who loved them and understood, yes, you're my daughters. Yes, I created you, but, go out here and make the world a better place. And that was exemplified and shown in every single episode the original series had. And the last thing is that it did show girl power. It did show...
Right, you have it now.
You did have the feminist view, but it wasn't in your face. Look at me.
Right.
Don't put me down. It was clearly meant to say that women and girls are strong. They are capable. They can be counted on. They are intelligent.
Right.
They are strong, and they are responsible. Everything came across by being written in such a way where you still had the humor, the responsibility, but the message was across. Women are awesome. And I'm sorry, unlike the new series that thinks that Miss Bellum was an insult and Miss Bellum was an embarrassment, you are so wrong. I loved her character.
About her at all.
She was one of the most iconic characters ever on any cartoon. And I think that was the dumbest thing in the world that this new series did, is getting rid of her. This show needs Miss Bellum.
Right.
The mayor needs Miss Bellum.
Right,
without Miss Bellum, he's just an idiot without a cause.
Right, and the town probably burned down without the Powerpuff Girls. But remember, they did have an episode that addressed the feminism. There was a feminist, a little feminist villain who stole nothing but Susan B. Anthony clothes. She brainwashed the Powerpuff Girls into thinking that the men in the town don't respect you. Dang it.
I can't.
I don't know. I remember all this time. It comes to now. I can't remember. But if you remember, you could tell us in the comments. But I do remember her specifically, and she brainwashed the girls into thinking that the men in the town don't respect her, and that drove them to treat all males with disrespect, even their own dad. They disrespect the professor, the mayor, the boys at their school. They were only nice to the other women.
And also with that, they managed to put in the element that sometimes anyone, including children, can follow someone who's a wrong role model, not knowing that they're giving them the wrong information, the wrong impression, and just leading them a way that they shouldn't go.
Right. And then they had that little discussion that said, yes, there are some men out there that can be bad, but there are women out there too. Not all men are bad. Not all women are bad. There's some in each category. And that's a great lesson, because now, and it is by a man. A man wrote this show about little girls and girl power, but you want to talk about men shouldn't do this, men's teaching girl power. So if that's not development, then what is?
Well, this new series, you don't have to worry about that, because I'm sorry, for those of you that like it, it sucks.
I can't stand it. They just really and I think it's the perfect explanation where they have toned it down. It's been wussified. You need a pillow to punch something. When you're a little kid to punch, you get a pillow for them.
And they no longer fight crime. They no longer save the day.
As opposed to the theme song.
And the professor, who's supposed to be this brilliant man who knows about physics and nuclear power and all these different types of sciences, suddenly has become an idiot as well.
Right.
So that just...
And what I really liked about the professor, which they changed with the atrocious fourth Powerpuff Girl, Blistina, that they changed the lore where she was actually the first Powerpuff Girl and they came later. And I thought that was just so wrong. And the way he wanted to do it was, he looked like he wanted to rival with a gender-bent version of him who created Astro Boy, basically. But in the original, you got the message later on as an adult that he wanted kids, so he was just going to create them in the lab. And so he was so happy to have them. Even in the movie, he was just so happy. He said, that's his daughter. He never called them experiments or anything. People would say, oh, your experiment, these are yours. Said, well, yes, I created them, but I'm their father. You knew he wanted kids, so his way was to create kids of his own through science so he would have a family.
But I think with that, this final note on Powerpuff Girls, Blistina could have been done really well.
Right.
If they had her in the new series be the first Powerpuff Girl, and he could have said, this was my first child, and this is what happened with her, and then this is what happened with you.
Right.
And it could have worked. It could have been written into a well received episode, but it just kind of,
It failed in
off
ratings,
one way,
too.
and then it went off the rails. It just went off the
Excuse me,
rails,
guys.
and it seemed to be just a whole bunch of different scenes.
Right. And people have
and a
said...
whole bunch of different lines that had no bearing.
Right.
No message. No lesson. Just nothing.
Right. And people have said it's like a self-insert fan story where you are the fourth Powerpuff Girl, and it seems exactly like that. It has nothing to do with the past, nothing to do with future events. It's just a standalone episode which they write off completely. I know people are gonna like her, which is, it's fine. You like who you want, but I didn't even like her design. I mean, everyone talks about the legs. She had these freakishly long legs. Like, this is what they're gonna grow up to be.
She looked more like an adult than she did.
And that was the point,
because
she's that teenager, and the joke is she was angry all the time, and she had trouble controlling her emotions. I guess all teenagers in the animation world just have issues, unless you know what a teenager is. Teenager's always going to be this angry thing that you got to deal with, and that was apparently the problem with her. Her emotions were tied with her powers, like Raven on Teen Titans, and every time she got frustrated, she would explode and just hurt everybody around her unintentionally.
Well,
I'm like,
that fit the episode. It exploded.
Right, it hurt everybody. It hurt me. My eyes have need to recover from that.
And now that you've mentioned Raven, let's move on to one of the best shows
Oh my
Cartoon Network
gosh
has ever aired.
Teen
the original
Titans!
Teen Titans.
Oh man, where do we start with that? I mean, that's gonna be one of the best
Let's start
cartoons and
Theme song.
oh, when there's trouble, you know who to call. Teen Titans is one of the most iconic.
Huffy Ami Yumi.
Yeah, most iconic songs ever. Whether it's in English or Japanese, you love it either way. I even know it in Japanese because I listen to it that much because they will alternate. If it was a serious action episode, it would be in English. Then you learned in an Easter egg on the Season 3 DVD, if you sell this DVD and don't know about it, there's an Easter egg on disc 1 of it, and click on the Masi Menno's plus sign, and you find out in English it means it's going to be an action and plot developed episode. But when it's a silly standalone episode, it's going to be like anime style and it's just goofy, the song will be in Japanese. And except for Nevermore, that is the case.
Right. Now this, again, is one of the best animated series ever made. Teen Titans was perfect. It was absolute perfection.
Right. And
there was nothing wrong except this series being canceled.
Right. And I hate that it was canceled because even the people who charted it said they don't even know what happened. They just said they've been canceled. So they had a movie, Trouble in Tokyo, which we still love. It still had the energy of the show. And it just said they were canceled because they were planning season 6 and they just told they were canceled. And unfortunately, it happens with a lot of shows like We Wander. You're ready for more adventures, and all of a sudden, canceled.
Right.
Bring in the next show.
Well, I think one thing that made this show really, really awesome was the caliber of the voice actors that they employed for the characters.
Right.
And give them a fun fact about Batman Beyond before we continue about the cast.
It's Justice League. On Justice League Unlimited, the episode titled Joker's Wild.
But those characters did appear on Batman Beyond. The Royal Flush.
Oh, okay, yeah. The Royal Flush Gang was a bunch of teenagers in this version, and in this version they had all of the Teen Titans actors play the Royal Flush Gang, and I do mean each one. You got Cyborg, Beast Boy, Robin. Starfire didn't come into like the last part of it, but she was in there. All of them were in there being the villains, and they work so well together even as villains. I think that's how they knew they need to be the Teen Titans. They just work so well together no matter what project, unless they're given stupid lines, they work so well.
Yeah, they're at the top of their game then and now.
And even though each season only had 13 episodes, it still felt like a lot was done in that time. There were a lot of great episodes that either were plot related, had to do with Slade, or Raven's father, or the Brotherhood of Evil, and ones that were just silly standalone ones, like the one with Mother May I, and this alien that thought Beast Boy was his dog, or the ones where they went through different TV channels from Control Freak. Everything was well thought out, planned out. There wasn't an episode you said, "Oh, this is the worst." There wasn't the best episode, but there wasn't the least one either. I mean, you could just love every episode as it were.
And every episode was distinct. You wouldn't look at one episode and go, "Oh my gosh, this is just like when they aired 2 weeks ago," or "This is just when they had last season." Every episode was distinct and unique, and you could find what you loved about the episode you were watching.
But I did like every season minus season 2 focused on the Titan. Season 2 focused on Terra, only for her to be unfortunately taken out at the end of the season, and not know what happens at the end of the series. Everybody got their own arc. Season 1 was Robin and Slave One and Apprentice. Season 2 was about Terra, her joining the team and choosing between good and evil. Season 3 was I think Season 2 was Cyborg as well, enjoying Titans East. Season 3 was kind of a mix of everybody. There wasn't really anybody that got full attention. Season 4 had Raven and her father bring in literally Doomsday, and she did not want that to happen. Right. The final season focused on Beast Boy, who you were thinking the whole series, just the goofy one, and he was part of this other team. He wanted a family, and he actually took things seriously. You were seeing a side of him that wasn't seen before, and he could take command if he had to, and wasn't just the goof off.
And I love the episode where they showed the team he was with previously before Teen Titans.
Right, what were they called? They
had Negative Man. They had
it was like a Magneto villain. I mean, a Magneto hero.
Okay, help us out again, guys. Tell us what the name of the original team Beast Boy was with before he joined Teen Titans.
Right, because for some reason not coming to mind. And there's just so much to remember from that show.
Yes, it's a lot. But again, back to the voice actors. They made them real for you, no matter what age you are at watching this show. They made the characters flesh out. And they made them real and have personality. And even with the new show Teen Titans Go, which we don't like and we don't watch, A, we're really happy that the voice actors got more work. B, we're happy that they still are using the same voice actors and weren't having other people trying to sound like them. But even in the original series as well as the new series, they make the characters their own.
True, really true. And you can always see online GIFs, posts, tribute videos to these characters because all of them can be relatable. No matter what age, who you are, where you're from, it's just diverse, completely diverse for everyone. It's a diverse cast for diverse people, just for everybody, all ages. Now, I will say, before we get to another show, the best episode, I think, personally, and people really remember, which unfortunately botched up in the new series, was How Long It Is Forever.
Yes.
When Starfire went to the future by accident from Warp, and she saw without her, the Titans disbanded, the city was just empty. They all just didn't have life, except Nightwing, of course, because it's Robin. But Cyborg couldn't leave the tower. He was stuck in that tower permanently because he can't live without it.
Beast Boy was in a cage in a circus.
Right, and he was overweight and bald as usual. Raven kind of...
Poor Beast Boy.
I guess Raven lost her mind because she had no friends. That's what she had. That's what kept her together. She had friends that helped her support her, and she did care about them. Without them, she was just by herself in this almost asylum room where she wouldn't hurt anybody, just alone by herself. Robin became Nightwing, like, well, you turned out pretty okay, but and Nightwing was there, and they knew about the Titans, and after that, this disbanded, because the promise was they will always be friends, but without her to help keep them together, that's what happened when she came back. They all came back together as a team. They all could fight. They all were still friends even after all that.
And I think it was pretty awesome for supposedly a kids show.
Right, what they think is kids.
Right, again, it appeals to everyone. It was not only awesome and different, but there's so many shows since that have copied that same episode with the elements of one team member going back to the past, and you see how they would have been different and how they needed that person and how they all needed to be together.
Justice League,
exactly.
With the Flash gone, the team broke apart. It's like without that one character who just brings a lot of joy, everything goes to crap, literally. And yeah, a lot of shows do that. And what was great about the show, last thing I want to cover with it, even the video games, and every show, every episode you watch is about, if one member was missing, they could not beat the villain. Even you thought, oh, you can handle them without them. No, they all need to be there. If Beast Boy was missing, they couldn't beat the villain. If Robin was missing, they couldn't beat the villain. Cyborg was missing, couldn't beat the villain.
Teamwork.
If they all of them had to be there for them to beat whatever villain they had.
And, yes,
without them, they were doomed.
You're right, that game, awesome fun if you haven't played it. And yes, for every mission or every
obstacle
you had to do in the game, they need to work as a
team.
Even you couldn't pass the level without teamwork.
Right, and even if you had just the computers with you and have all human players, all of them were together. It wasn't just you kept interchanging out unless it was on the Game Boy. You couldn't just change out, let one do one, change out, do the other. No, all of them were there as a group, like a multiplayer game.
Right. Okay, before we get to
I want to
the
get
final, let's go back a little to shows like Johnny Bravo.
Oh, back to more classics like Johnny Bravo. None we watch. Courage the Cowardly Dog. Always like, you know, it was creepy as heck. Still loved it. Cow and Chicken. Chowder. I really liked watching. What else? For the cartoons. I Am Weasel. Let's see, what else? There's just so much on
Ed and Eddie.
Oh, Ed and Eddie. Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. What else did we watch down there? Total Drama. Even though they may not air as much, that was just one of their best hits ever.
Total Drama is an episode in itself. Absolutely.
Right. What else? Ben 10. All Ben 10s.
So,
except Omniverse, that sucked.
It was like, for Cartoon Network, that was their heyday.
Right.
That was definitely their heyday, and the epitome of what a great Cartoon Network should be.
Right.
Not only from the shows that aired, but from what you loved were the commercials, and when they had the specialized commercials.
Yes,
and
I loved it so much. And Cartoon Network now still has some good shows, but unfortunately they seem to choose Teen Titans Go as the greatest show of all time, but they still do have good shows on, even though they want to pay attention to them. We want to mention them quickly.
I want you to talk about the commercials too, because they were really
no, we're going to talk about that unique. Definitely. I don't remember the memories one. I want to mention shows that were on or are on now in the modern times that are treated as not much, but they're still good. Regular Show, even though that's ended, that was still one of their best shows.
Absolutely.
I don't
show.
I don't watch Steven Universe, but I know that has a fan base, so I want to give that a shout out. We Bare Bears. It may not be an action-oriented show or a big plot overarching show.
It started off shaky, but it got to be wonderful. And again, it's one of those shows that has endearing characters.
Right.
Like Powerpuff Girls. You love all three, and you love the interactions amongst them.
Right.
You love how they interact with the world. And definitely each one's individual and unique backstory. So it's just a great show.
And last but definitely not least, OKKO. I think that's their best new cartoon by far. If you love anime, superheroes, comic books, video games, fighting games, trading cards, if you are just a fanatic for any of these or all these, this is your show.
I'm trying not to sing the theme song.
Because it is just homage and a collection and a tribute to all the nerds, including me, and the people who just love this stuff into one show. A show just filled with superheroes and villains as literally everyday things. And it's just a really fun show, and I hope it stays on for a little bit because I can't stand Teen Titans Go being on that thing anymore.
And my favorite character, of course, is KO. He is just adorable, and the innocence that the character exhibits in that you see that he just really wants to be the best, and he really just wants to make everyone proud.
And he's just so happy.
Right. And also his attitude is just refreshing for a cartoon character.
Right.
Everyone he's willing to learn from, everyone he's willing to take constructive criticism from, and everyone he's willing to ask help from to be better. And I think that's just a message that a lot of shows don't tend to convey, is how we need to be as people, no matter what age you are. That is just something we all need to remember. KO's attitude and the way that he's being written is just refreshing and a learning experience.
And it's like with Wanda or Star, all three of them are just these really positive characters that are just going to keep going no matter what is thrown at them. They're always going to help people. They're always going to do what's right. They're just really fun, positive characters, and KO was definitely one of them.
Absolutely. And then your favorite is Rad.
Radicles, the alien. and you first see him, he's just this narcissistic little thing, and then as you get to like one episode where he gave him KO the name tag, and he was him for a while, and you found out he wasn't really all that. tough. He was the yoga class. He babysat. He was he loved kittens. And it was an episode where he said maybe Brad wasn't ready to tell about that yet, but you know he has a heart and he really likes KO. And he tells him, I know everything, and he believes it. And it's just funny. Like, he's not just narcissistic as in just irritated. It's just that he wants someone to look up to him. He likes attention. He likes proving he's the best. It's his showing off his muscles and the biceps and the triceps. Like, would you shut up? And he's just a fun character. And it's just like every time I just want to hear what are you gonna say next, because sometimes he just has the best lines with KO in the show, and it's just like, why'd you say that?
So I look forward to many more years of OKKO and Cartoon Network. Please do not cancel and take this show off.
Right, it says season 2, so I want to see how this TKO thing is gonna go out. Professor Venomous and Boxman, they're gonna be working together. You know what happened to with his mom, so you're trying to figure out who's the dad now. You have Maury Povich drama now. So that's it for Cartoon Network, and with the time we got...
Oh no, you cannot dare try to end this podcast without talking about Young Justice.
Oh yes, how can you forget Young Justice? One of the best superhero shows of all time, and with a concept you thought wouldn't work, which I didn't think would work.
Thank you, Greg Weisman.
Yes.
And Christopher Jones artwork.
And with a concept you didn't think would work out. Now it's a show about literally all the sidekicks of the bigger superheroes that you know. And together they form their own team and fight crime and do missions, stealth missions that the regular heroes can't do. And you would think that this is a comedy show or something. When you first hear it's all the sidekicks. And ironically, the tagline is don't call them sidekicks. They take it as seriously as possible. Every once in a while, they still got their humor in, but it's still a dark and it's an action-packed show about it. They are more than just the sidekicks. It features Aqualad, the Calderon version of Aqualad.
Dick Grayson Robin,
Wally West Flash,
Miss Martian,
Superboy, or the Superboy,
and
Artemis Croc, and later on Red Arrow, later on Rocket. They got like a few members later,
right?
They got later, but like near the end of the season, then just fade from existence.
Red Arrow was there in the beginning, but he didn't want to be called a sidekick, so he left.
Then he was in Flaky, and then he's by himself. Why'd you replace me? It's like, make up your mind.
I think from the beginning, from the first episode, this show's tone was set with the two-parter of them. Was a two-parter, right?
Technically, yeah. It was like an Independence Day episode.
Right, where they proved that they were more than sidekicks, that they proved that all the training and the lessons and the good advice they had received from the mentors had all been taken in and all been put to good use and remembered, and that they could go out, work as a team, and utilize all the skills and learning and training they received without the mentors.
Yeah, they could prove they could handle themselves, even when they had a 5-year skip, and it was still based off of sidekicks. Like, they had one with Wonder Woman, and they had, Lagoon Boy, even though he didn't do much. They had the Tim Drake Robin. They had Blue Beetle, Beast Boy, who joined later.
Wonder Girl.
Yeah, that's what I said, Wonder Girl. All the sidekicks could handle themselves. It proves that they have learned.
And they proved it when the main members of the Justice League had to be taken away to be put on trial. And they were responsible for making sure that Earth was protected and saved while the main Justice League characters were gone away. Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman.
It was the Flash, Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, just about all of them that were gone for that missing 16 hours. And they were gone that long, and they had no memory, and they had to go on trial, and they were just ready to, declare them guilty. But luckily, prove them innocent, even at the very last episode. So not only they handled that, they made sure that they were not pushed to wrongful punishment.
Right. So they proved from the very beginning to the very end of the series that they were definitely more than sidekicks. I'm really looking forward to the return of Young Justice. I don't know if we're going to call it a season 3, if it's going to be called a reboot. Really sucks that it's going to have to be on Netflix.
Yeah, because if you don't have Netflix, then you're screwed.
As a separate DC portion, so it's not going to be part of your regular Netflix account. You've got to pay extra, but I have to say it will be worth it to see the return of this show. The iconic characters, the voice actors who now have become known for the characters they portrayed, the artwork, the well-written episodes, the action, just everything about this show was just top-notch, and I cannot wait for its return.
Me either.
I'm really hoping that they're going to employ the same voice actors. I really would hate to hear anyone else doing Nightwing.
Yeah, because he really fit, even though it was still the same kid from the first season to the second season. He just changed his voice slightly, but it was still the same
Jesse
person.
McCartney, great job.
Right. Okay, so
favorite character from Young Justice?
Okay, for me, Wally West, Kid Flash. I'm sorry, Impulse is okay, but not a favorite.
Love Nightwing. My second would be Wally, and I also love the relationship between Wally and Dick. Great. Absolutely great. How about your favorite characters from Teen Titans?
Me, it would be Beast Boy. Second would be Cyborg, because, like I said, they were always fun-loving characters, fun-loving dudes, but they could prove they could just be more than that, and when it's time to get serious, they could be it.
For me, of course, Dick Grayson Robin, every time. Favorite character, my second would be Cyborg. Well, actually be a tie between Cyborg and Beast Boy, because again, the dynamic between them is another thing that made that show work.
Right.
The camaraderie and the rapport and everything, the interest that they shared, that was a great part of that show.
Okay, we have just talk about Cartoon Network all this time. We need to mention these other shows because they're just there's like so many.
There's
we
more
watch.
Cartoon Networks. Oh, we talked was Cartoon Network.
Yeah. Okay, I think we need to.
But it was Cartoon Network.
Well, technically, yeah. So, but I think there is more on other stages. Like I said, Nickelodeon and Disney. We're just gonna have the titles. And I know a lot of you are gonna know these because these have big fan bases. Okay, I know I want to mention Challenge Showdown, which was underrated. It was kind of underrated as well. It was Cartoon Network and WB, but it was another show ahead of its time, just like Symbiotic Titan. What other shows we watched? We watched a recent one of Loud House, of course.
Oh, love Loud House. Saw the pilot, fell in love with it. Absolutely love Loud House. And I could go on and on about Loud House, so I'll just say I love me some Loud House.
Okay, I'm sorry, Nickelodeon is a show so short. That's all we can say about that channel. That's all we got to watch. Unless you watch Harvey Beaks or something, that's like the only cartoon I can see watching.
Nickelodeon, Avatar, and Legend of Korra.
Oh, yeah.
Avatar, the best animated series ever made. Ever made. Period. Hands down.
Yes. Yeah, we're almost out of time. Okay, yeah. Okay, let's just go ahead. I want to go ahead and get these two Netflix ones out of the way because it's Studio Mirror.
Voltron.
Voltron, Legendary Defender, and Troll Hunters. Two awesome shows we watch on Netflix, exclusive. Both are really great. I suggest you check them out if you're action, adventure fans and fans of Avatar, Legend of Korra, or DreamWorks stuff.
Voltron Legendary Defender is just eons above the original 84 series and is shoot-offs. There's no comparison. So if you've heard all this stuff about the original Voltron, just push it aside. Voltron Legendary Defender is just award-winning animation, storytelling, action-packed, distinct characters that there's not a show right now that matches up to the popularity or to the quality of this show. And then as she mentioned, Troll Hunters, which is also DreamWorks. DreamWorks just has it in the bag. DreamWorks knows how to make an animated series. Troll Hunters, at first, when we first started watching it, we weren't sure that we were going to like it. But after the second episode, we were hooked.
Right. Okay. Now going...
more about Troll Hunters.
Wait, you need more. And it almost sounds like this generic story of unlikely hero saving the world. But as you go on, it starts to get into more troll lore. Because it looks like DreamWorks has trolls covered as a genre of storytelling. It just becomes more than just unlikely hero and face the destiny. Is action, great characters, pretty good guest stars. And the person who does Jim, the main character, unfortunately was killed in a car accident sometime this year. So unfortunately he may not be returning to do the voice in season 3, but we loved him as the character these 2 seasons.
Just so you know, you've got lots to binge watch. Trollhunters just finished their 2nd season, and as she said, it'll be back for season 3. They haven't indicated whether the voice actor had recorded that far ahead, because it was amazing that the first season was 26 episodes, the second's only 13, and he had recorded all of the audio for those seasons. Voltron just finished his fake 3rd and 4th season. The first season was 13 episodes, second season 13, and the 3rd and 4th we got cheated. But everything is there for these 2 shows for you to sit and binge watch and just get yourself ready for the premiere of the return of these seasons in 2018.
Right. Okay, now going into Disney. There's only a couple that we still watch, and one's still airing, the others we just love. Wander Over Yonder, of course, by Craig McCracken.
Yay!
Loved his show. Too bad it was canceled before they could finish their story. Gravity Falls, is one of Disney's greatest cartoons of all time. Star vs. Force of Evil, another great cartoon of all time for that channel, because all three aren't like anything they've ever had, and it's all different. All of them can have huge fan bases.
Let's go a little bit back for Wander Over Yonder. Jack McBrayer, who is just Wander. He was born to be Wander. Take a look. Gravity Falls.
I wish it had a 3rd season, but I understand the creator's choice of wanting to end it. But he is asking if you want to see more of it as another series or something, and there are definitely people who want to see more of it. So, let your voices be heard and let them know you want to see more of the show, in which we love the graphic novels we got, but we want to see more of Adventures of Dipper and Mabel, and of course Stan and Ford and the rest of Gravity Falls to see what happens next.
Star vs. the Forces of Evil is perfection. Thank you, Darren Nefsey. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And finally, and you can, even if you're not into fantasy style shows, you will still love this show, because first it starts out as something silly, like Wander Over Yonder. As it goes on, it starts to get more development. It goes into adult issues like historical, historical revisionist, racism, being positive. Okay, let me finish this.
Boy-girl relationships.
Not
as friends and other.
Right, the crushes, the relationship between Star and Marco is just awesome, and the chemistry of the characters being positive and everything. We're going Game of Thrones season 3 right now, so we're definitely getting really weird and really wild with these new developments, but it's just an awesome show.
The last thing I'd like to add is, if any adults are out there listening, I know that you may think that a lot of these shows are just for kids, but I'm telling you, they are high quality entertainment. I'm an adult, as you know. Rascal's my daughter. There's no way on earth that I can imagine not having liked these shows. If you have been considering it, or if you look at it and think, oh, this is just for kids, take off your blinders. Don't have any preconceived notions, and just sit down with your son, daughter, children, grandkids, whatever, and just watch the first episode. And I guarantee you, you're going to be hooked, and you're going to understand why your children love these shows so much.
And even if you don't have to like all the shows to be into. But when I tell you, a lot of these shows, you may think you're not into it, but once you watch these shows, you will have a whole new appreciation for these genres, for the animation industry, for cartoons in general. Because in the words of Nicktoons' tagline, they're not just cartoons.
No, they're not. So, our time is run out. Take us away, Rascal.
Okay, thank you so much for watching, everybody, and listening to our very first podcast. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Of course, we'll have links to, of course, our Tumblr pages online.
Batman is not available.
Yeah, please leave a message to Tone the Beep. Beep!
And our next topic is going to be...
I think underrated cartoons. I think that's our next topic. Yes, underrated shows that only have one season or just don't get enough credit for just being really creative or outstanding, and just don't get a lot of credit in general in the animation industry.
And some of them were ones we mentioned today. So thanks
especially
for
Canada.
Thanks for welcoming us, and
have a toontastic day
from Rascal and Mama Entertainments.
Later.
Peace out.
And reporters sitting flashing lights, trying to walk around, man. Who the hell are you? What you rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket, give it to you later on in the form of a rocket.